In this edition of Impact, we meet two recipients of donated organs.
One organ donor can save up to 8 lives as an organ donor and help up to 50 people as a tissue donor.
But first, we go into the lives of families caring for relatives with rare diseases.
I could do mostly anything that a regular person could do. It's just the extra care.
Welcome to Impact. I'm Shichao Ma. In this episode, we explore the lives of people who are fighting for a chance at a normal life. In our first segment, we see some challenges faced by two patients living with rare diseases. Diagnosed at a young age, they've learned how to embrace the uncertainty of their futures.
Growing up, up until I was maybe teenage years, I had a really good childhood. I really didn't feel like I had a disability. I just thought I was normal. I had toys, like everybody did. I went to school, like everybody went to school. The only difference was that I couldn't walk.
The disease is hard to deal with, but if you really try, it's like nothing. I could do mostly anything that a regular person could do. It's just the extra care, like with all my pills and my treatments. But the treatments are only like in the night when I go to sleep and in the morning when I wake up. My name is Javier Arreola. I'm 10 years old. When I was coming to the Children's Hospital, I was around a year and a half. They found out that I had cystic fibrosis and that I needed special care. These are my treatments. I have to start with my vest. It helps open my lungs so then I could breathe better, so then mucus can't get inside my lungs. First I have to deal with it. I have a G-tube and it helps me gain more weight throughout the night because I have medicine throughout the night. Before, when I didn't have this, I weighed like around 30 pounds, and now I weigh 65 pounds. Now, during the night, I have to do these feedings. I do 3 cans. I usually do 3 cans at night, but right now I'm just doing 1. During the day, it's 1.
A las 8 o 9 de la noche, ahí empieza el trabajo como mamá. Ahí empiezo los tratamientos de Javier, empiezo a llenarle su bolsita de leche, empiezo a conectarlo, sus medicinas por el tubo y yo termino alrededor de 11:30, 12 de la noche.
There's this little tunnel thing, and then you open my tube, click it in, lock it. Now, turn it on.
En la madrugada, como toma leche, también tengo que darle pastillas. Me levanto a las 3 de la mañana a darle sus pastillas. Y para amanecer, tengo que levantarme antes de las 6 de la mañana a ponerle otra vez sus tratamientos.
I think what's really hard with a rare disease is there isn't a community out there. In order to get one, you have to start it. Now, you're already overwhelmed with having this child with this rare disease. Being a caretaker is extremely draining. You know, you lose your life.
All my family that I have a sister and a dad and a mom. It's a big deal for them. And I got sad because I think it was one of my cousins.
Pero conforme fue pasando el tiempo, vimos que era una enfermedad tremenda. A él le afectan sus pulmones y agarra neumonías muy seguido. Y el saber que tu niño puede estar bien ahorita y que mañana se te puede morir, eso para una familia es terrible.
In the United States alone, there's 25 million Americans with rare diseases, most of them children. And that's just the United States. I mean, I have 550 rare pediatric diseases on my database. It's constantly growing. Rare diseases aren't so rare anymore.
¿Quieres Spider-Man?
Yep, but with a different mask.
Mande.
Que en México solamente me decían que era falta de calcio, que era debilidad que tenía, pero nunca me dijeron que esa enfermedad tenía.
In SMA, in the spinal cord, there is a particular cell called the anterior horn cell, which is responsible for the nerve which makes our muscles move. And in SMA, there is a deterioration of that cell. So there is miscommunication or a lack of communication between the brain and our muscles.
And the more and more my back was straight again, it was turning into my lungs. And that in the end would have caused my life to be shorter.
That's right. You have no resistance onto those bones. They can get weaker. You get curved back or scoliosis. Your bones can get thin because of disuse.
Everything that is a muscle in my body is in a with time decrease. My eyesight, my breathing, my heart. It's just something I know I have to deal with.
Yeah.
That's Titanic?
Yeah.
Do you want to know Titanic?
Yo nunca
We went to see her.
he comido enfrente de ella. A mí se me hace triste estar yo comiendo y que ella me esté viendo.
But when it just happens from one minute to the next, and when it's something so big as the pleasures of eating, that's hard. I didn't want to be here anymore. I didn't want to spend my whole life on the bed in a room. I didn't want it. But I have a really good family.
Well, first I'm going to be a scientist to find the cure. And then after that, I'm going to quit being a scientist and be a doctor to help the kids. But maybe it's going to be a little too late because I don't think they will need helping because there will be a cure for it already. Oh, I missed.
I think this is like her third baby. Or her second.
I think everybody would want a cure, especially if you're the one living with it. I don't know how much more time I have, and I know I'm such a big part of their life, but when I'm not there anymore, I want my mom to be with me.
was the most surreal thing. It was so beautiful the day. I mean, I was all on brand new equipment. It was just so beautiful. I can't even explain the warm-up lap, just going around the track. I made one circuit of the track, crashed on the last turn.
Okay, let me see here. That's me when I was 20 years old.
You wanna see-
I got paralyzed on that motorcycle.
I was laying there and I had my name on my leathers Vogel right on the butt, and I was reading it upside down right next to my face. And then I noticed my feet were on the other side of my head shaking.
Well, I didn't really know what
My spine was split and my body was folded in half.
Okay. Gotta watch out for that.
I was really into motorcycles my whole life. I was really something that was really natural to me, like art. You know, it's just something I could do and see myself being successful at. I've always been a painter since I was a little kid. My style of art is called abstract expressionism.
I don't paint with tracks on the, the wheels. The wheels, so you can't really tell if it's a wheelchair or a paintbrush.
For me, painting with the wheelchair, it removes me from the process. I understand what I'm doing mechanically, but the end result, I never really imagined, how much the line work speaks. Usually I draw the painting before I do it, so I know the image really, it's gonna appear, and then I don't move on until I sign my name on the painting and it's hanging on a wall. Hopefully what we're gonna come up with, it'll be, let's see, red. I teach kids, positive mental attitudes and good things in life, how to tackle problems and do good and be successful.
Blue, which I like, and blue, black, these are our colors we got. You want to do any other colors than that?
He had a gallery opening, and we went to go visit his studio there, and that's where Tom Martin, who has been very encouraging to Tom to continue his art, and he's helped him along the way.
Yeah.
People are standing on each corner?
Yeah.
You go roll to each person?
Yeah.
And high five.
Yeah.
Okay.
And make them give you a high five.
Important. When I got paralyzed, I think the world was lifted from my shoulders. I felt like a relief. I see way past this wheelchair. I don't even say I'm in it. I just use it. I'm just using this wheelchair. I try to tell kids, especially, just get off it, man. You use this thing. It's not you. It's just a vehicle you're going through life.
That's pretty cool. And that's what I was saying. The big fish, little fish, it sounds good. But you can see they're coming and going. Isn't that weird? One's going one way, one's going the other.
In our next story, we meet Mike and Sarah, who have been through organ transplants. Waiting for a match can be a lengthy and complex process, and an emotional journey as well.
The team I played for now is called the Field Effects, and I've been playing with them for the last 14 years. And we just got there to Alondra Park and we have a blast.
Mike Jones is a softball fanatic. He's never let illness or injury slow him down, but his resolve was put to a test during the holidays in 1996.
The doctor called me on Thanksgiving Day and says, "Do you want to see your son graduate from high school?" He was 7 at the time. I went in the next morning, sat down with the doctor. He said, "Well, you have what you call end-stage renal disease, to where you need to go on dialysis immediately." I said, "Well, let me ask you 2 questions. If I go on this dialysis thing, first thing I want to know, will I see my son graduate from high school?" Answer was yes. Second question, will I still be able to play softball?
For the next 6 years, Mike managed to balance dialysis, his job, and the game he loves so much.
I had to get down on my knees and pray, just to pray for the strength to continue to just live my life, because now it's all about me and beating kidney disease.
But the challenge he faced was far more serious. To survive meant he would need an organ transplant. Organ donation is rare, so he added his name to 3 national transplant lists, but to no avail. Too many others had been waiting even longer than he had. Dr. Sophocles Alexopoulos, a transplant surgeon at USC University Hospital in Los Angeles, says when it comes to those in need of a kidney, the outlook is grim.
There's a more profound organ shortage, specifically in Southern California, where the waiting times are the longest in the United States. So for a blood type O organ, most of us are blood type O. It would take, on average, 10 years waiting to get a kidney transplant from a deceased donor. With kidneys, we currently transplant based on how long you've been on dialysis.
But in 2001, things started looking up. Mike met Patricia Abdullah while enrolled in a self-development course. Then, after spending just 5 days together, she offered him one of her kidneys.
For a perfect stranger to say, you can have my kidney. Shock, amazement, fulfillment, because I'm about to get off this machine. Someone's going to give me the gift of life because nobody in my family was a match. No one was a match.
Tanaya Wallace is the campaign director of Donate Life Hollywood. Part of her job is to help match organ donors with recipients.
With kidneys, it's interesting. There's something called the antigens, and we all have antigens, 6 antigens, and we compare the antigens between donor and recipient. A 6 antigen match is what they call a perfect match.
And Patricia Abdullah was a perfect match. So, on September 25th, 2001, she gave Jones a kidney.
One organ donor can save up to 8 lives as an organ donor and help up to 50 people as a tissue donor.
My name is Sarah Castro. I'm a student at Cal State LA. I'm going into my 3rd year, and I received a heart transplant at birth. I was only 5 weeks old.
My baby had half of a normal heart rate. A normal infant is 120 beats per minute, and Sarah was only at 60.
Sarah's mother, Mona Castro, says she was excited when she first learned she was pregnant, but things soon took a turn.
At 7 months, I was told that there was a problem. I was struggling, being a first-time mom and thinking, wow, my child may not live. But at the same time, I was very positive, and I thought, whatever it is, I knew she was going to be okay.
Sarah was born with severe congenital heart disease, and the doctors gave her parents 3 options. They could either take her home and let nature take its course, put her through corrective heart surgery, or add her name to a national transplant waiting list.
The success rate was 80%, so I hung on to that 80%. That it meant a lot to me that there was hope. I already knew my decision. It was already set. We were going for the heart transplant. I was definitely scared. All I wanted to hear was that she's going to be fine.
The worried mother says she held on to hope after Sarah was born. Then, when Sarah was just 4 days old, the doctors had no choice but to implant a pacemaker.
We were trying to buy time with that pacemaker, but there was still no guarantees that she was going to even make it to that point because she was so sick.
5 weeks later, a heart became available.
It's kind of sad to think that, a little baby, lost his life, and now I have a part of him. But, I'm so thankful for his family that decided to say yes and donate his organs, even though he was so young. And now I'm here, and I needed a transplant at a very young age, and he's still living on in me.
And the sad thing is that somebody died for, my child to get that chance to live. It's hard to know that somebody had to go through that rough time that I could have possibly been going through that myself, but we were blessed enough to receive a heart.
My donor, he was a little boy who was 2 days old, and I think sometimes that's the reason I'm so tough with things, because I have a little boy's heart and keeps me going and keeps me energetic.
children that are 6 months old, a year old. If you looked on the whole, about 25 to 30% of them will become tolerant to the organ. Those children can grow up and live to be healthy young adults and have families of their own, and it's amazing. It really is.
I go to school full time. I am also in a sorority, which is a lot of fun.
Alphas! 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 Woo! Wallace says being a donor offers a second chance to someone in need.
17 people die every day waiting because of the shortage of organs. Of the 110,000 people waiting, 90,000 are waiting for a kidney. And this is because of diabetes and high blood pressure. Organ transplantation is the last treatment available to them. So many of these people are literally at death's door, and if a transplanted organ does not become available, they will pass away.
So there are risks even after the transplant. And sometimes, despite our best effort to prevent rejection, rejection occurs and patients lose the transplant to rejection. Rejection can happen at any point after a transplant. The highest risk point, time frame for rejection is within the first 6 months after a transplant, because that's when your body's still accommodating the most to the new organ, your immune system is adjusting.
There is always a chance that I could reject. But for me, at this point, it's my heart.
But donor organs don't always last a lifetime. The average transplanted kidney has to be replaced after about 10 years. That's how long it took Jones to notice his was starting to fail.
I got what you call a polyoma virus. It hits 1 in every 150,000 kidney patients. It was destroying the kidney. So this year, started getting swelling in my feet, and I know all the symptoms, I know all the signs, and I was fighting it off. So I fought it, like, okay, I'm going to have to break down and go into dialysis again. And then I started doing dialysis, and I've been back on dialysis ever since. So I have what you call a catheter, it's a permacath, to where this connects straight to my heart, in which it connects 2 tubes to it, and it takes the blood out of my body, cleans it up, and pumps it back in my body. And that's what dialysis is doing, it's purifying the blood.
Mike's son graduated from high school, but he lost his mother shortly after his operation. 2 years later, while going through his mother's room, he discovered something tucked away behind her dresser drawer that he says he never expected.
There was a paper taped against the back wall. I pulled the paper off. It was my adoption papers.
Turns out he had 8 siblings he knew nothing about. After an unexpected reunion with his biological family, Mike's oldest brother agreed to get tested to donate one of his kidneys. He passes the time with one of his passions.
I play first base and I catch. It's basically a release. It's a good way to work out, way to relieve whatever stress you have. Just take it out on that little ball, hit it as hard as you can, as far as you can, and then run around the base just to camaraderie with your teammates. And everybody had the same kind of day. It's like, okay, this guy's gonna just kick some butt in the softball world. And that's what we do.
There is this belief that physicians, nurses, just the medical staff will not try as hard to save somebody that might be saved because they might become an organ donor, and that couldn't be further from the truth.
Experts say there are specific criteria that must be met by a donor.
1 is you have to be on a ventilator, and 2, you have to have a stabilized blood pressure. And the only medical conditions that would stop you from being an organ donor are being HIV positive or having active cancer.
Dr. Alexopoulos says the most important thing to do if you are considering organ donation is to talk to your family.
It's the families that really have to bear the brunt of that decision.
The number 1 reason why people say no to organ donation at the hospital for a loved one is because they don't know what their loved one wanted.
If the donor family didn't say yes to donation back then, I truly believe that she would not be here today. And there's no doubt about it that I will always be grateful for that family.
It's a great gift. And sometimes I wonder if a lot of what we do in life isn't because we're worried about what our legacy is going to be after we die. This is one way to, in death, provide life to other people.
Sarah says she's looking forward to her college graduation, but Mike's future is a little less certain.
I continue to speak about kidney disease. I continue to be a Donate Life ambassador. I continue to live my life, play softball 3 days a week, playing for the championship this coming Thursday. I continue to just live my life to the fullest.
That's all for this edition of Impact. Be sure to check all of our episodes at uscimpact.org. Now let's take a look at some of our upcoming stories.
In history, in the Silk Road, they just bring the Eastern culture to the West and learn the West culture, bring the West culture to the East. I really want to bring the Silk Road to the United States.
I'm always really happy when I see that I've taken that pet from helpless, abused, whatever, to the center of someone else's world.
With Home Store, I get to see them cry or laugh or, be so thankful or just be moved. And, I know that I'm affecting them and they also know who's affecting them. And we can have a moment together and it becomes this shared experience.